Sometimes I think she cares more about her Instagram followers than her own family. It's madness.
You know what they say about camping trips with friends? They're where marriages go to die. I should have seen it coming when my wife Sam suggested we spend a long weekend in the mountains with Brandon and the gang. Sam, who usually treats nature like it's personally offended her, suddenly wanted to reconnect with the wilderness. Right. My name's Eli Mercer, and I'm a construction project manager who's spent the last 12 years thinking I knew my wife. Turns out, I knew Jack Mess. The lodge sat perched on a cliff overlooking Lake Tahoe, all rustic charm and Instagram-worthy views. Perfect for Sam's social media addiction. She'd already posted 17 stories by the time we finished unpacking, each one more staged than the last. "Living my best life with my amazing husband," she captioned a photo of us by the fireplace. I looked like a prop in my own marriage. Brandon Pike arrived fashionably late, as always. My old hiking buddy, now some hotshot tech entrepreneur with more money than sense. He pulled up in his Tesla because of course he did, and immediately started holding court about his latest startup venture. The guy could make ordering coffee sound like a TED Talk. "Eli, buddy!" Brandon slapped my back with that practiced enthusiasm that made my teeth itch. "Thanks for organizing this. I've been dying to get away from the city grind." Sam practically glowed when she hugged him hello. A little too long, a little too tight. But hey, I'm not the jealous type. Or so I told myself. Nina Chen, Sam's best friend and professional mess stirrer, had brought her usual arsenal of party games and gossip. She lived for drama like plants live for sunlight. Her sidekick, Leah Morrison, tagged along, quiet and observant, the type who remembered everything you said when you were drunk. The first night started innocent enough. We grilled burgers, drank beer, told the same stories we'd been recycling for years. Sam couldn't light the campfire to save her life, so I handled that while she supervised from her folding chair, wine glass in hand. "You're so good with your hands, Eli," she said, and something in her tone made me look up. She wasn't watching me. She was watching Brandon watch me. After dinner, Nina broke out the cards, but that got boring fast. Someone suggested truth or dare, because apparently we were all 16 again. The dares started small. Brandon had to do push-ups. Leah had to call her ex, stupid stuff like that. Then Nina turned to Sam with that predatory smile I'd learned to fear over the years. "Truth or dare, Sammy?" "Truth." Sam was 3 glasses deep in Pinot Grigio, cheeks flushed, inhibitions packed away for the weekend. "If you could sleep with any man here besides your husband, who would it be?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Everyone went quiet except for the crackling fire. I felt my jaw clench, waiting for Sam to laugh it off, to deflect with a joke, to do anything except what she did next. "Brandon," she said without hesitation. "Definitely Brandon." I nearly choked on my beer. The group erupted in nervous laughter, but I caught the look that passed between Sam and Brandon. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, but I saw everything I needed to see in those 2 seconds. "Jesus, Sam," I managed, forcing a laugh that sounded like broken glass. Way to make a guy feel special. "Oh, come on, it's just a game," she said, but her eyes were still on Brandon. "You'd probably pick Nina or Leah." "Actually, I'd pick my wife," I said, standing up. "Call me old-fashioned. I need another beer." I walked to the cooler, hands shaking with something that felt like rage, but tasted like betrayal. When I turned back, Sam was whispering something to Nina, both of them giggling like schoolgirls. Brandon was staring into the fire, but his ears were red. The party broke up around midnight. Sam and I retired to our cabin, a cozy little place with thin walls and thinner trust. She brushed her teeth like nothing had happened, humming some pop song while I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. "That was fun tonight," she said, climbing under the covers. "We should do this more often." "Yeah," I said. "Real fun." She rolled over and was snoring within minutes. I lay awake listening to the wind in the pines and the sound of my marriage cracking like old timber. Around 2 a.m., I heard voices outside, soft laughter, the kind people make when they're trying not to wake anyone. I slipped out of bed and peered through the window. Sam was standing by the dying campfire in her robe, talking to Brandon. He was still fully dressed, which meant he'd never gone to bed. They were standing close, too close, and when he reached up to touch her face, she didn't pull away. I watched my wife of 8 years kiss another man under the stars, and something cold and calculating settled into my chest where my heart used to be. They talked for another 10 minutes, hands all over each other, before Sam finally came back inside. She slipped into bed like a ghost, but I could smell his cologne on her skin. The next morning, Sam claimed she didn't remember anything after the third glass of wine. I was so drunk, she said, making coffee with shaky hands. Did I say anything embarrassing? Nina said I was pretty wasted. Nothing too bad, I lied, watching her face for tells. She was relieved, which told me everything. Just the usual party nonsense. But I knew better. Sam could drink a bottle of wine and still remember every detail of her favorite TV show. Selective amnesia was her specialty. I suggested we go for a hike after breakfast, just the two of us. Sam begged off with a headache, said she needed to recover by the pool. Brandon volunteered to keep her company while I explored the trails. How thoughtful of him. I hiked for about an hour, working off my anger on the mountain paths, then doubled back through the woods. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but I had to know for sure. I found them in a clearing about half a mile from the lodge. Sam was on a blanket without clothes, while Brandon photographed her with his phone. They were laughing, touching, completely lost in their own private world. Then he put the phone down and climbed on top of her. I watched my marriage die right there in the ferns and wildflowers. Watched my wife arch her back for another man, heard her make sounds she hadn't made for me in years. They went at it like teenagers, desperate and sloppy and completely oblivious to my presence. When they finished, Sam checked her phone and panicked about the time. They dressed quickly, Brandon helping her pick leaves out of her hair. Before they left the clearing, he pulled her close and whispered something that made her laugh. "Same time next week?" I heard him ask. "Always," she replied. Next week? This wasn't their first rodeo. I waited until they were gone, then walked to the clearing. The blanket was still there, along with a used protection and my wife's wedding ring, forgotten in the grass. I picked up the ring and put it in my pocket. Sam would notice it was missing eventually, but by then I'd be long gone. I packed my bags while the group was at lunch, told them I had a work emergency. Sam barely looked up from her mimosa when I kissed her goodbye. "Drive safe," she said. "Love you." The words tasted like poison in the mountain air. On the drive home, I called my old army buddy, Jace Murphy, now a private investigator with flexible morals and a talent for finding dirt. "I need a favor," I told him. "A big one." "What kind of favor?" "The kind that ends marriages." Jace was quiet for a moment. "You sure about this, Eli? Once we go down this road, there's no coming back." I looked at Sam's wedding ring sitting in my cup holder and felt that cold calculation spread through my veins like ice water. "I'm sure," I said. "Let's burn it all down." The house felt different when I got back from the mountains. Same furniture, same pictures on the walls, but everything looked like a lie now. 8 years of marriage reduced to props in Sam's performance. I spent Sunday cleaning my workshop in the basement, organizing tools and thinking. Sam wouldn't be back until Monday night, which gave me time to plan. I'm a project manager by trade, which means I know how to break down complex problems into manageable steps. Step 1, gather evidence. Step 2, document everything. Step 3, destroy them both. Jay showed up Monday morning with coffee and a grin that spelled trouble. He looked like a biker who'd accidentally wandered into a boardroom leather jacket over khakis, beard that belonged in a whiskey commercial, eyes that missed nothing. "So," he said, settling into my kitchen chair like he owned the place, "your wife's stepping out." "Among other things." I showed him the wedding ring. "Found this at their love nest yesterday." Jace whistled low. "How long you think it's been going on?" "Months, maybe longer. They were too comfortable together, too practiced. This wasn't some drunken mistake." "And the guy?" "Brandon Pike. Tech startup founder, drives a Tesla, thinks his mess doesn't stink. Used to be my friend." "Used to be," Jace nodded. "What's your goal here? Divorce? Custody? Public humiliation?" "All of the above. I want them to lose everything that matters to them. Sam cares about her reputation, her job, her social status. Brandon cares about his business and his image. I want to take it all away." Jace pulled out a tablet and started taking notes. "I'll need access to her devices, social media passwords, financial records. Can you get me that?" "Sam uses the same password for everything, Butterfly23. She's not exactly a security expert." "Beautiful. What about the boyfriend?" "Leave that to me. I know where he lives, where he works, what he drives. Brandon's always been careless about personal details." We spent the next hour planning surveillance schedules and gathering intel. Jace would handle the technical stuff, phone records, financial tracking, social media deep dives. I'd focus on documenting their meetings and building a timeline. One more thing, I said as Jace was leaving. I want to know if there are others. If Sam's been doing this before Brandon, I want names and dates. You sure you want to know all that? I need to know all that. Can't fight an enemy if you don't know how deep their army goes. Sam came home Monday night full of stories about the weekend, how much fun everyone had after I left, how they missed me at the group dinner, how Brandon had been such a gentleman, helping her with her luggage. He's really sweet, she said, unpacking her suitcase. I think you've been too hard on him over the years. Maybe you're right, I said, watching her fold the shirt she'd worn during their forest encounter. Maybe I should give him another chance. She smiled like she'd won something. I'm glad you're being open-minded. Actually, he invited us to dinner this weekend. Nina and Leah are coming too. Sounds great. Can't wait. The lies came so easily now. Maybe I'd been practicing for years without realizing it. Tuesday morning, I started my new routine. Drop Sam at her graphic design studio downtown, then circle back to monitor her movements. Jace had installed tracking software on her phone Sunday night while she slept, so we could coordinate our surveillance. Sam's first stop after work wasn't home. She drove to Brandon's apartment complex, a trendy high-rise in the Arts District. I parked across the street and watched her use a key to let herself into the building. A key? She had a goddamn key. Jace's voice crackled through my earpiece. She's in the elevator heading to the 15th floor. Brandon's apartment is 1547. How long has she had building access? Working on it. But, Eli, there's something else you need to see. I'm sending photos to your phone now. My phone buzzed with incoming messages. The first few were surveillance shots of Sam and Brandon around town, holding hands at a coffee shop, kissing in his car, entering a hotel together. Standard affair documentation. Then I saw the screenshots from Sam's laptop. She had an OnlyFans account, not just any account, a premium subscription service with over 3,000 followers. The profile picture showed Sam from the neck down in black lingerie I'd never seen before. The bio read, Samantha Secrets, your favorite naughty wife next door. My hands shook as I scrolled through the content previews. Photos, videos, live chat sessions, some solo, some with Brandon, a few with men I didn't recognize. The timestamps went back 8 months. 8 months of my wife selling herself online while I worked 60-hour weeks to pay our mortgage. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Gets worse, Jace said through the earpiece. Check the financial records I'm sending now. Sam had been making serious money, nearly $4,000 a month, all of it going into a secret account I'd never seen. She'd been planning something, building a nest egg behind my back. My phone rang. Sam's name on the caller ID. Hey, babe, I answered, proud of how normal my voice sounded. Hi, honey. I'm working late tonight, probably won't be home until 10. Nina needs help with a rush project. I looked up at Brandon's apartment building where lights had just come on in Unit 1547. No problem. I'll grab dinner with the guys from work. Love you. Love you too? She hung up, and I sat in my car laughing until tears ran down my face. Not funny tears, the kind that come when your whole world reveals itself as an elaborate joke and you're the only one who didn't get the punchline. Jace climbed into my passenger seat. You okay, man? I'm perfect. Absolutely having Zex perfect. I wiped my eyes and started the engine. How fast can you get me copies of everything? The photos, the financial records, the whole digital paper trail? Give me 48 hours, but Eli, what are you planning to do with all this? I thought about Sam upstairs, probably taking more photos for her secret admirers, planning her exit strategy with my former friend's help. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve, I said, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. Wednesday morning brought a new revelation. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, a 70-year-old busybody with perfect timing, knocked on my door while Sam was in the shower. Eli, dear, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but I've been seeing that nice young man from your camping group visiting during the day. Brandon, I think? He's been here several times while you're at work. My blood pressure spiked, but I kept my voice level. Oh, that's probably about some business thing Sam's helping him with, graphic design work. Of course, dear, it's just that yesterday I saw him leaving through the back door, and it seemed a bit odd. But I'm sure it's nothing. The back door. He'd been in my house, in my bed, using my back door to avoid being seen by the neighbors. The disrespect was almost impressive in its completeness. Thanks for letting me know, Mrs. Patterson. I appreciate you looking out for us. Anytime, dear. Oh, and Eli? That young man left something in your driveway yesterday. A phone charger, I think. I put it on your porch table. After she left, I found the charger. iPhone with Brandon's initials engraved on the side. A custom job that probably cost more than most people's monthly phone bills. I pocketed the charger and went back inside. Sam was blow-drying her hair, getting ready for another day of lies. "Who was at the door?" she called over the noise. "Mrs. Patterson. She wanted to borrow some sugar. That woman needs to get a life. If only she knew." Thursday afternoon, Jace called with an update that made my day. "Your boy Brandon's got problems," he said. "His startup is hemorrhaging money, and his biggest investor is some conservative family foundation that would lose their minds if they knew about his extracurricular activities." How bad are his money problems? Bad enough that he's been borrowing against his apartment to keep the business afloat. Guy's leveraged up to his eyeballs and one scandal away from bankruptcy. And Sam doesn't know? From what I can tell, he's been lying to her about his financial situation. She thinks she's trading up from a construction manager to a tech millionaire. Reality is, you probably make more money than he does right now. The irony was delicious. Sam was destroying our marriage for a man who was one bad quarter away from losing everything. What about the other men in her videos? Still working on IDs, but I found something interesting. Your wife's been advertising couples experiences for premium subscribers. Looks like she and Brandon have been running a side business together. A side business. My wife had turned cheating into an entrepreneurial venture. That night, Sam came home with takeout from our favorite Thai place and a bottle of wine. She'd put on the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one that made her look like a movie star. "I thought we could have a nice dinner together," she said, setting the table with our good china. "I feel like we haven't been connecting lately." "That's thoughtful of you." I opened the wine, wondering if this was guilt or strategy. "What's the occasion?" "Do I need an occasion to spend time with my husband?" She was good, I had to give her that. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have fallen for the performance. The loving wife, trying to reconnect with her neglected husband. We ate dinner and made small talk about work, friends, weekend plans. Sam was charming and attentive, asking about my projects, laughing at my jokes, playing the part perfectly. After dinner, she suggested we watch a movie. "Something romantic," she said. We settled on the couch, Sam curled against my side like old times. Halfway through the movie, my phone buzzed with a text from Jace. "They're planning something big for this weekend. Check your email." I excused myself to use the bathroom and read Jace's message. Brandon had booked a hotel suite for Saturday night, the same night as the dinner party Sam had mentioned. They were planning to celebrate something. When I came back to the living room, Sam was gone. I found her in our bedroom wearing the lingerie from her OnlyFans photos. "I thought we could reconnect in other ways too," she said, posing like she was still performing for her camera. Looking at her, I felt nothing but disgust. This woman had turned our marriage into content for strangers, and now she wanted to play the loving wife. "I'm actually pretty tired," I said. "Rain check?" Her face fell for just a second before the mask slipped back into place. "Of course, honey. You work so hard." She changed into pajamas and climbed into bed beside me, but I could feel her disappointment radiating like heat. Sam wasn't used to rejection, especially not from her husband. As she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling and finalized my plans. This weekend would be the beginning of the end for both of them. I just had to decide how much collateral damage I was willing to accept. Friday morning brought the kind of clarity that comes with absolute certainty. I knew what I had to do, and more importantly, I knew I was going to enjoy it. Jace met me at a diner across town, away from prying eyes and familiar faces. He slid a manila envelope across the table like we were in some spy movie. "Everything you asked for," he said. "Financial records, photo evidence, video screenshots, communication logs. Your wife's been busier than a one-legged cat in a sandbox." I flipped through the documents, each page another nail in Sam's coffin. Bank statements showing her secret income, hotel receipts, text message threads with Brandon that would make a sailor blush. "The dinner party tonight," I said. "What's their real plan?" "Near as I can tell, it's a farewell performance. Sam's planning to ask for a separation next week. She's been consulting with a divorce attorney, trying to figure out how to maximize her settlement. And Brandon? He thinks he's going to ride off into the sunset with your wife and her OnlyFans money. Poor coward doesn't realize his startup's about to collapse." I studied a photo of Sam and Brandon entering a hotel, her hand on his buttocks, both of them grinning like they'd won the lottery. "I need you to do something for me tonight," I said. "Can you get into Brandon's apartment while we're at dinner?" "Probably. What do you need? I want you to plant some evidence. Make it look like he's been stalking other women in the building. Nothing illegal, just creepy enough to get him evicted and ruin his reputation. Jace raised an eyebrow. That's pretty cold, even for revenge. He's been having sex my wife in my bed, Jace. Cold doesn't begin to cover what I'm feeling. Fair enough. What kind of evidence? I pulled out my phone and showed him photos I'd taken of our female neighbors. Innocent shots from social media, but printed and arranged the right way. They'd look like surveillance photos. Jesus, Eli, you've really thought this through. I'm a project manager. Planning is what I do. That evening, Sam spent 2 hours getting ready for dinner. She tried on 3 different outfits, each one more revealing than the last, finally settling on a red dress that hugged every curve. How do I look? She asked, posing in our bedroom mirror. Beautiful, I said, and meant it. Sam was gorgeous, which made her betrayal sting even worse. Brandon's going to have trouble keeping his eyes off you. She blushed like a schoolgirl. Oh, stop. It's just dinner with friends. Right, just dinner. We arrived at the restaurant fashionably late. Nina and Leah were already there, looking like they were in on some secret joke. Brandon stood when we approached, all smiles and fake warmth. Eli, buddy, so glad you could make it. He shook my hand with the enthusiasm of a used car salesman. And Sam, you look absolutely stunning. Thank you, Sam said, letting his compliment linger a beat too long. We ordered drinks and settled into our booth. The conversation flowed like we were all old friends. No hint of the drama simmering beneath the surface. Brandon regaled us with stories about his business success, painting himself as the next Steve Jobs. Sam hung on his every word. Nina kept shooting me curious glances, like she was trying to figure out if I suspected anything. Leah stayed quiet, but I caught her watching the interplay between Sam and Brandon with obvious discomfort. So, Eli, Brandon said during the main course, Sam tells me you've been working crazy hours lately. That must be tough on the marriage. The audacity was breathtaking. Here was a man who'd been screwing my wife, asking me about my marriage problems. We make it work, I said. Sam's very understanding about my career demands. She finds ways to keep herself busy while I'm at work. Sam nearly choked on her wine. Eli's exaggerating. I don't mind the alone time. It gives me space to pursue my own interests. What kind of interest? I asked innocently. Oh, you know, photography, online networking, creative projects. Creative projects. That was one way to describe it. Brandon's phone buzzed during dessert. He frowned at the screen, then excused himself to take a call outside. Through the restaurant window, I watched him pace back and forth, clearly agitated. Everything okay? Sam asked when he returned. Just some business stuff. Nothing I can't handle. But his confidence had cracked, and we all noticed. My phone vibrated with a text from Jace. Package delivered. Your boy's going to have some explaining to do. Perfect timing. The dinner wound down around 10, everyone making plans to do it again soon. Brandon offered to walk Sam to our car, ever the gentleman. I watched them through the restaurant window, saw him lean in close to whisper something that made her smile. They're not very subtle, are they? Leah said quietly. I turned to find her watching me with sympathetic eyes. What do you mean? Come on, Eli. We all see what's happening. Nina thinks it's exciting, but I think it's awful. You don't deserve this. Thanks, Leah. I appreciate that. Are you going to do something about it? I looked out at my wife, laughing at something my former friend had said, both of them pretending they weren't planning to destroy my life. Yeah, I said. I think I am. The drive home was quiet. Sam stared out the window, lost in thought, probably planning her next move. I let the silence stretch, knowing it made her uncomfortable. Nice dinner, I finally said. Brandon seemed a little stressed, don't you think? Business problems, probably. The tech world is pretty volatile. I'm sure he'll figure it out. He's very resourceful. Resourceful. Another interesting word choice. At home, Sam went straight to our bedroom while I locked up and turned off the lights. When I got upstairs, she was already in bed, pretending to read a magazine. I'm going to shower, I said. Okay, I might be asleep when you get out. I'm pretty tired. I knew she wouldn't be asleep. She'd be texting Brandon, probably planning their next rendezvous. The thought should have made me angry, but instead I felt that cold calculation settling over me like armor. In the shower, I reviewed my timeline. Tomorrow, Jace would release the first wave of evidence to Brandon's landlord and business partners. By Monday, Sam's employer would receive an anonymous tip about her side business. By the end of the week, both of their worlds would be in flames. When I came out of the bathroom, Sam was indeed texting someone, phone hidden under her pillow. She looked up with guilty eyes. "Just checking social media," she said. "This late?" "You know how it is. Instagram rabbit holes." I climbed into bed beside her, close enough to smell Brandon's cologne still lingering on her skin. She'd been in his arms tonight, making plans to leave me, and now she was lying in our bed pretending to be my loving wife. "Sam," I said softly. "Yeah?" "If you ever wanted to leave me, you'd tell me honestly, right? You wouldn't sneak around behind my back?" She went very still. "Of course, honey. Why would you ask that?" "Just wondering. Marriage is built on trust, you know. Without that, what's the point?" "Exactly." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Trust is everything." I rolled over and closed my eyes, listening to her breathing gradually slow as she fell asleep. But I stayed awake, planning the final phase of my revenge. Tomorrow, the real fun would begin. Saturday morning brought the first crack in Brandon's perfect facade. His phone started ringing at 7 a.m., call after call that he kept declining. Sam noticed during breakfast, shooting worried glances at her silent phone. "Maybe you should call him," I suggested. "Make sure everything's okay." "I'm sure it's fine," she said, but her hands shook as she poured coffee. Around noon, Jace called with an update. "Your boy's having a rough morning," he said. Building management found the photos in his apartment along with some other interesting items. They're starting eviction proceedings. "What other items?" "Let's just say Brandon's going to have trouble explaining why he had women's underwear and jewelry that doesn't belong to him. I'd planted those items myself, taking things from Sam's dresser that she wouldn't miss right away. When the police investigated, they'd find her DNA all over evidence that suggested Brandon was a serial stalker. Any word from his business partners? They're meeting with him Monday morning. Something about moral character clauses in their investment agreement. Everything was falling into place like dominoes in a carefully planned sequence. That afternoon, Sam announced she was going shopping with Nina. Another lie, of course. I followed them to Brandon's apartment building, where police cars were parked outside and residents were gathered in worried clusters. Sam's face went white when she saw the scene. She tried calling Brandon, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Nina looked confused, clearly not in on whatever crisis was unfolding. I parked across the street and watched Sam pace the sidewalk, frantically texting. After 20 minutes, she gave up and drove home, Nina chattering questions the whole way. "What was that about?" I asked when she came through the door. "I have no idea. There were police at Brandon's building. I hope he's okay." "I'm sure he's fine. Probably just some building issue." But Sam spent the rest of the day checking her phone every 5 minutes, growing more agitated as the hours passed without word from her lover. Sunday brought the second wave. Brandon finally called Sam while she was making breakfast, and I listened from the next room as she tried to keep her voice casual. "Oh my God, that's terrible," she said. "What kind of evidence? That doesn't sound like you at all." A pause while Brandon explained his situation. "Of course I believe you. This has to be some kind of mistake." Another pause, longer this time. "No, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe we should take a break until this gets sorted out." Bingo. When the going got tough, Sam was ready to cut and run. So much for true love. She hung up and stood in the kitchen for a long moment, staring at her phone like it might provide answers. "Everything okay?" I asked, appearing in the doorway. "Brandon's having some legal troubles. Someone's trying to frame him for stalking." "That's awful. Why would someone do that?" "I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense." Oh, it made perfect sense. But Sam would understand that soon enough. That evening, I made my own call to Brandon. He answered on the first ring, voice tight with stress. "Eli, thank God I need to talk to someone rational about this situation." "What situation?" "Someone's trying to destroy my life. They planted evidence in my apartment, sent photos to my business partners, even contacted my mother with lies about my character." "Jesus, Brandon, that's crazy. Who would do something like that?" "I have no idea, but they're doing a thorough job. My lawyer says it looks like a coordinated campaign." "Any idea what they want?" "That's the weird part. They haven't asked for money or anything. It's like they just want to watch me burn." I let the silence stretch, savoring his confusion and fear. "Maybe it's a competitor," I suggested. "Business rivals can get pretty nasty." "Maybe. Look, I know this is awkward, but I need to ask you something. Have you noticed anything strange about Sam lately? My blood went cold. What do you mean? She's been acting weird around me, distant. And today she said we shouldn't spend time together until this blows over. Can you blame her? If someone's targeting you, she probably doesn't want to get caught in the crossfire. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm just paranoid right now. Thanks for listening, man. I really appreciate it. Anytime, buddy. That's what friends are for. I hung up and smiled. Brandon was starting to crack, and Sam was already distancing herself from the wreckage. Phase 1 was complete. Now it was time to move on to Phase 2, destroying Sam's world with the same methodical precision. Monday morning, I kissed my wife goodbye and watched her drive to work, probably hoping for a normal day after the weekend's drama. She was about to be very disappointed. At exactly 9 a.m., Jace sent an anonymous email to Sam's boss at the design studio. The subject line read, "Concerning employee conduct." The message contained screenshots from Sam's OnlyFans account, along with evidence that she'd been using company equipment to create content. By 10 a.m., Sam was in her boss's office. By 10:30, she was cleaning out her desk. She called me crying, barely coherent through her sobs. "They fired me," she said. "Someone sent them photos, private photos. They said I violated the morality clause in my contract." "What photos?" I asked, injecting just the right amount of confusion into my voice. I can't explain over the phone. Can you come home? I'm in the middle of a project meeting. Can it wait until tonight? Please, Eli, I really need you right now. The desperation in her voice was music to my ears, but I kept my tone supportive and concerned. Okay, I'll be there in an hour. I found Sam in our living room, surrounded by tissues and empty wine glasses. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in one morning. "Someone's trying to ruin my life," she said when I sat down beside her. "They sent my boss photos from a website I never signed up for. Someone's been impersonating me online." The lies came so easily to her, even in crisis. It was almost impressive. "What kind of website?" "An adult site with photos that look like me, but I swear I never took them." I pulled out my phone and pretended to search. "What's the site called?" "OnlyFans. But Eli, I swear to you, I never—" "Sam." I showed her the screen, displaying her profile page. "This is definitely you." Her face crumpled. "I can explain." "I'm sure you can. Just like you explained why Brandon had a key to our house. Just like you explained those late nights at Nina's. Just like you explained that camping trip." The color drained from her cheeks. "You know? I know everything, Sam. The affair, the website, the secret bank account, the plan to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for." She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it again. For the first time in our marriage, Sam was speechless. "The question is," I continued, "what are we going to do about it?" Sam stared at me like I'd grown a second head. In her world, I was the predictable husband who worked late and never asked hard questions. The idea that I'd been investigating her double life clearly hadn't occurred to her. "How long have you known?" she whispered. "Since the camping trip. I saw you with Brandon in the woods. Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see how deep the rabbit hole went. Turns out, pretty having Zex deep." She flinched at the profanity. I never swore at her, even during our worst fights. But the old Eli was gone, replaced by someone harder and less forgiving. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said. "Brandon and I, we just connected. You're always working, and I felt so alone. So you decided to start an online adult content business?" "It wasn't like that. It started as just photos, something fun and empowering. The money was just a bonus. $4,000 a month is quite a bonus." Her eyes widened. "You know about the account?" "I know about all of it, Sam. Every hotel receipt, every text message, every video you made in our bedroom while I was at work." She buried her face in her hands. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. You were planning to leave me, weren't you? Take half of everything and run off with your tech millionaire." "Brandon's not a millionaire. His business is failing. I know that too. Which makes your decision even more interesting. You were willing to destroy our marriage for a man who's broke and about to be homeless." Sam looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "What do you want, Eli? Do you want me to beg? Do you want me to promise it'll never happen again?" "I want you to understand what's going to happen next." I pulled out my phone and showed her a video Jace had captured of her and Brandon in his apartment. She watched herself perform for his camera, her face growing paler with each passing second. This video, along with about 50 others, is currently sitting in a secure cloud storage account. So are your financial records, text messages, and hotel receipts. Everything I need to prove cheating and financial deception in divorce court. You're divorcing me? I'm destroying you, Sam, just like you destroyed our marriage. She started crying again, but these weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of fear, the kind that come when you realize you've miscalculated badly. What about Brandon? She asked. What about him? Are you the one who's been targeting him? I smiled, and she shrank back like I'd shown her a weapon. Brandon Pike is learning what happens when you have sex another man's wife. By the end of the week, he'll have lost his apartment, his business, and his reputation. The stalking charges should keep him busy for the next few months. Stalking charges? Amazing what kind of evidence turns up when you know where to plant it. Sam's face went white. Eli, that's illegal. You can't frame someone for crimes they didn't commit. Can I? Seems to me Brandon's been committing plenty of crimes. Cheating might not be prosecuted much anymore, but fraud is. Those videos you made together? That's a business partnership. He owes taxes on that income, and I'm betting he hasn't been reporting it. The beauty of my plan was its simplicity. I hadn't actually framed Brandon for stalking. I just created circumstances that made him look guilty of things he actually was guilty of. The photos in his apartment were of Sam, taken with her consent. The underwear belonged to Sam, who'd been spending time there. Everything was technically true, just presented in a way that told a different story. You've thought of everything, Sam said. I'm good at my job. And right now, my job is making sure you and Brandon pay for what you did to me. She stood up suddenly, pacing to the window like a caged animal. What do you want from me, Eli? You want me to grovel? You want me to sign whatever divorce papers you put in front of me? Fine, I'll do it. Just leave Brandon alone. Still protecting your lover? That's touching. He doesn't deserve this. I'm the one who's married. I'm the one who broke our vows. Brandon knew exactly what he was doing when he started having Zex, my wife. He made his choice. Sam spun around, anger flashing in her eyes. You self-righteous coward. You think you're so perfect? You think you're the innocent sufferer here? Compared to you? Yeah, I think I am. You're emotionally absent, Eli. You work 60 hours a week and expect me to be grateful for the scraps of attention you throw my way. When's the last time we went on a real date? When's the last time you told me I was beautiful without me fishing for compliments? So this is my fault? It's both our faults. Our marriage was broken long before Brandon came along. He just made me realize I deserved better. Better? You were having Zexim for an audience, Sam. You turned our marriage into entertainment for strangers on the internet. How is that better? She had no answer for that, which told me everything I needed to know. My phone rang. Jace's name on the caller ID. Excuse me, I told Sam. I need to take this. Eli, we've got a problem, Jace said. Brandon's lawyer is asking questions about the evidence. Smart questions. I think he's starting to piece together what really happened. How much does he know? Hard to say. But he's been making calls to private investigators, asking about surveillance and evidence planting. Your boy might be smarter than we gave him credit for. I looked at Sam, who was watching me with desperate hope in her eyes. Can he prove anything? Not yet. But if he gets the right PI involved, someone who knows what to look for, then we accelerate the timeline. Move to phase 3 tonight. You sure about that? Once we cross that line, there's no going back. I crossed that line the moment I watched my wife have Zex another man in the woods. Tonight, everyone learns the truth. I hung up and turned back to Sam. Change of plans, I said. We're going out tonight. Going out where? Nina's having people over, remember? You mentioned it last week. Sam looked confused. I don't think I'm in the mood for a party. Oh, but you are. You're going to get dressed up, put on a brave face, and pretend everything is normal. Because tonight is when all your friends learn exactly what kind of person you really are. Eli, please, don't do this in public. Don't humiliate me in front of everyone. You humiliated me in front of everyone when you started your little side business. Turnabout is fair play. She grabbed my arm, desperation making her strong. I'll do anything you want. I'll sign a post-nuptial agreement giving you everything. I'll move out tonight. Just don't destroy my reputation. Your reputation? I laughed, and the sound made her flinch. Sam, your reputation is already destroyed. I'm just making sure everyone else knows it. I pulled out my phone and showed her Nina's Instagram story from that morning. It showed Sam leaving her office building with a box of personal items, tears streaming down her face. The caption read, "When your bestie's having the worst Monday ever, #support your girls, #bad days." Happen. Nina posted this? Sam's voice was barely a whisper. Your best friend couldn't wait to share your misery with the world? That's the kind of loyalty you inspire. Sam sank onto the couch, finally understanding the scope of her situation. She wasn't just losing her marriage. She was losing everything that defined her identity. Get dressed, I said. We have a party to attend. I can't face them, not like this. You can and you will, because the alternative is much worse. She looked up at me with something that might have been fear. What alternative? I leaned down until we were eye to eye. The alternative is that I release everything publicly. Every video, every photo, every text message. I'll make sure it goes viral, Sam. Your parents will see it, your sister will see it, everyone you went to high school with will see it. Is that what you want? She shook her head, tears flowing freely now. Then get dressed. We're going to Nina's and you're going to smile and pretend everything is fine. And when the moment is right, I'm going to tell everyone exactly what kind of woman I married. 2 hours later, we were standing outside Nina's apartment, Sam clinging to my arm like I was her lifeline instead of her executioner. She'd managed to pull herself together, covering the damage with makeup and designer clothes, but I could feel her trembling. Please, she whispered as we walked up the stairs. Please don't do this. Too late for please, Sam. You should have thought of that before you decided to become an entrepreneur. Nina opened the door with her usual dramatic flair, but her smile faltered when she saw Sam's face. Oh, honey, you look terrible. Are you feeling okay? Just tired, Sam managed. It's been a long day. The apartment was full of familiar faces. Sam's coworkers from her old job, neighbors, friends from college, people who knew us as the stable couple. The ones who'd been together since their 20s and seemed to have it all figured out. They had no idea what they were about to witness. Brandon wasn't there, which was probably for the best. He was dealing with his own crisis, and I wanted tonight to be all about Sam. We mingled for an hour, Sam growing more relaxed as people treated her normally. She started to believe she might survive this, that maybe I was bluffing about the public revelation. She was wrong. At 9 o'clock, I tapped my wine glass to get everyone's attention. Sorry to interrupt the party, I said, but I wanted to share some news with all of Sam's friends. Sam's face went white, but she couldn't stop me without making a scene. As most of you know, Sam lost her job today. What you might not know is why. The room went quiet, everyone sensing drama. It turns out my wife has been running a side business, an adult entertainment business, to be specific. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sam grabbed my arm, but I shook her off. She's been selling videos and photos online, making quite a nice profit. $4,000 a month, in fact. Eli, stop, Sam whispered, but her voice was lost in the growing buzz of conversation. I pulled out my phone and connected it to Nina's smart TV. Sam's OnlyFans profile appeared on the big screen, her nearly without clothes body displayed for everyone to see. She's also been having an affair with Brandon Pike. You all remember Brandon. He was at our camping trip last month. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Nina covered her mouth with her hands, staring at the screen in horror. Leah looked like she might be sick. Eli, what the hell are you doing? Nina finally found her voice. I'm showing everyone who my wife really is. See, Sam's been planning to divorce me and take half of everything I own. She's been building a nest egg with her adult content money and planning her exit strategy. Sam was crying openly now, but I wasn't finished. The best part is, she was going to leave me for a man who's about to lose everything. Brandon's startup is failing. He's being evicted from his apartment and he's facing stalking charges. My wife destroyed our 8-year marriage for a broke criminal. I scrolled through the photos on the screen, each one more damning than the last. Sam with Brandon, Sam alone, Sam with men I didn't recognize. So I wanted all of you to know the truth about Samantha Mercer. She's not the sweet, innocent woman you think she is. She's a liar, a cheat, and a sex worker who turned our marriage into a business opportunity. The room was dead silent except for Sam sobbing. Everyone stared at the screen, at her, at me, trying to process what they were witnessing. That's enough, Leah said quietly. Turn it off, Eli. You've made your point. Have I? Because I want to make sure everyone understands exactly what kind of person they've been calling their friend. I clicked to a video of Sam and Brandon together, the audio filling the room with sounds that made several people look away. 8 years of marriage, I said. 8 years of me working my buttocks off to build a life together, and this is how she repaid me. Sam suddenly broke free from her paralysis and ran for the door. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, then the slam of the building's front door. The room remained silent for a long moment. Then Nina found the remote and turned off the TV. "Jesus Christ, Eli," she said. "What have you done?" "I've told the truth. Isn't that what friends are supposed to do?" "That wasn't truth-telling. That was public humiliation." "She humiliated me first. She just did it privately." People started leaving then, gathering their coats and purses, avoiding eye contact with me. Within 10 minutes, the apartment was empty except for Nina, Leah, and me. "You're a monster," Nina said. "Whatever she did to you, she didn't deserve that." "Didn't she?" "She turned our marriage into a joke, Nina. She made me look like a fool while she had Zex my friend and sold herself online. What exactly did she deserve? A private conversation, a chance to explain, maybe even forgiveness. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry. Sam's only sorry she got caught." I headed for the door, then turned back. "By the way, Nina, you might want to be more careful about the advice you give your friends. Those text messages where you encourage Sam to cheat? They're going to be evidence in our divorce proceedings." Her face went pale. "What text messages?" "The ones where you told her she deserved better than me. The ones where you helped her plan her hotel meetings with Brandon. The ones where you called me a boring workaholic who would never satisfy a woman like Sam." "I never said those things." "Maybe not in those exact words, but that's how a good lawyer will present them to a judge." I left them standing there, probably wondering what other evidence I had and who else might be implicated in Sam's web of lies. Outside, I found Sam sitting in our car, crying into her hands. She looked up when I approached, her face streaked with mascara and shame. "Are you happy now?" she asked. "Did that make you feel better?" "Actually, yeah, it did. You destroyed me in there. Those people will never look at me the same way." "Good. Maybe they'll think twice before trusting you with their secrets." She started the engine without another word. We drove home in silence, the weight of what had just happened settling between us like a wall. At home, Sam went straight to our bedroom and started packing. I watched from the doorway as she threw clothes into suitcases, her movements sharp and angry. "Where will you go?" I asked. "Does it matter? You've made sure I have nowhere to go and no one to turn to. You could try Brandon." "Oh, wait, he's probably in jail by now." She spun around, fury blazing in her eyes. "You really did frame him, didn't you? I created consequences for his actions. There's a difference. You planted evidence. You ruined an innocent man's life. Brandon stopped being innocent the moment he put his hands on my wife." She finished packing and dragged her suitcases to the front door. Before she left, she turned back one last time. "I hope you're proud of yourself, Eli. You got your revenge. But you know what? You're going to be alone for the rest of your life because no woman will ever trust a man who's capable of what you did tonight." "Maybe, but I'll be alone with my dignity intact. Can you say the same?" She slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat in my living room, surrounded by the wreckage of my marriage. My phone was buzzing with texts and missed calls, probably people from the party wanting to know if what they'd seen was real. I ignored them all. Tomorrow I'd start divorce proceedings. I'd make sure Sam got as little as possible in the settlement, and I'd make sure everyone in our social circle knew exactly why our marriage ended. Some people might call me vindictive, others might say I went too far. But as I sat there in my empty house, drinking whiskey and planning my next moves, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: satisfaction. Sam had burned down our marriage for a cheap thrill and a few $1,000s. Now she was learning what it felt like to watch everything you care about turn to ashes. And I was just getting started.